Don't guarantee results, no matter how confident you're feeling, no matter cocky you are. It's better to set a lower expectation and then exceed it. Marketing and doing the things that we're doing, we're just trying to create connections and drive value for people. The game hasn't truly changed. People feel like, well, AI, everything's all different now. It's all different. Everything's, the SERP looks different now. It's still about creating quality content. So instead of reporting on a channel in isolation, start reporting on your channels together.
Chad, welcome to eCoffee with Experts. Great to have you.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited.
You have been in marketing for a long time, since around 2007. What was marketing like back then? I want to take me back to 2007, 500 years ago, and let me know what marketing was like.
Yeah, 500 years ago. Yeah, it was interesting. I got a job as a call center customer service agent at a company called My eBiz, and My eBiz did SEO and PPC. That was the thing that they did back in 2007. And I remember it was just a lot of tactics that we might consider just black hat now. Just like link stuffing or keyword stuffing, and like they would do like these link tactics that were super sketchy, link buying and trying to just manipulate the SERP. It was funny. I spent the majority of those first years, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, just answering the phones, this agency and talking to really angry clients, all day. And it was funny. That was how I cut my teeth in the industry. It was just a means to an end. I was an English major. I wanted to go be an English professor. I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd and all those kinds of things. And I thought that, well, I'm just kind of paying the bills to get me through college. And I had really great leaders there, to their credit, said, hey, let's actually teach you the game of marketing and give you a better job, like an account manager job or like something a little bit more impactful, because you're great at talking to really angry people. So let's move you into something like that. And so I started to learn how to do website building with actual builders, not like it would be like a Wix or a Squarespace today, but like actually using like a builder to set up websites and to do e-commerce. For the next few years, I helped with drop shipping. So like drop shipping, huge. It was kind of before Amazon had cornered the market on just everything, Temu and these companies now that you can just buy anything in the e-com space you can think of from one place. I remember clients who were like, oh, I'm going to be the katana store and I'll sell swords, katanas online.
What?
And I'll find a drop shipper overseas and then I'll have a website storefront or picture frames, or, you know what I mean? They would figure these little micro niches and then blow it up because they could rank for keywords and, kind of corner that e-com market. It was just before Amazon did its thing. And anyway, I mean, by the time, to make a long story short, by the time I graduated from college, I had advanced in my skills enough as a marketer that I was making great money. I was making more money than I would make as an English professor.
Yeah.
Sorry to the English professors because they don't get paid enough.
It's not hard to do.
Yeah.
To make more money than those.
Yeah, it was brutal. And so I was like, do I want to go into more debt, move my family to make less money? It just started make sense. And I was like, I'm having fun doing marketing. I might as well just go for it. And so at that point, I shifted my mindset and just went all in on marketing. And I've been growing in the industry ever since. But yeah, I mean, marketing has changed a lot. It's one of the things that I'll say often is that I'm frequently stressed, but never bored. And that's true of marketing. Every day we're learning new things. We're trying new tactics. And just when you get comfortable, everything shifts and you've got to practice and learn something new. So I really love that about it. I'm a flexible type of person and personality. It's one of the things that makes marketing really fun for me. But I could see it wreaking havoc on an anxious type of individual,
Absolutely. Maybe. Yeah. It takes a special type of person to be in marketing, but also a special type of person to be in that original position at a call center and dealing with angry people, likely based on probably missed expectations or, a whole slew of things that could have happened. That mindset, the best way to learn, I feel, if not in the trenches doing it yourself, is to find from other people's mistakes or what makes them tick, what makes them angry, what makes the clock stop ticking for them. Yeah. That's, man, what a blessing in disguise to start in that type of position. I'm wondering, early on in your career, was there like a moment or a series of moments or an example that you can give of maybe like one of those valleys that you may have went into where you're like, this sucks and I had to fix it, or you had to learn something or overcome it,
Yeah.
And that's the best type of learning from the mistake. And then how does that translate to, your outset today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll share a couple of experiences that really shaped who I am as a marketer, and they're what I would call like paradigm shifting experiences that just blew my
Yes.
mind. One of them, I remember it was so I've been at Disruptive Advertising for almost 10 years, 10 years in November, which is a long time to be at an agency.
Congrats.
First of all,
Yeah.
it's been a long time, but it is the fourth agency that I've worked at. So I've been at a lot of agencies,
Mm.
and I guess it's just goes back to how long I've been doing this, but I remember in about the first 6 months I was at Disruptive, I had just one of my first big successes with a client. They were doing small business loans is the business that they were doing. I had created a landing page for them. I'd created a paid search campaign, and I just had nailed it when it came to the strategy because they were getting more leads than they knew what to do with. It was just going very, very well for the budgets even that they had, which were very small and strategic. And I remember I got a call from the client, my main point of contact, and he said, "Hey, Chad, you're killing it on this account. You're driving all this business for us. Everybody, my upper ups are wondering what's going on because it's so great. My boss wants to come in with me to your office and meet you in person."
Nice.
So I was like, "Oh, amazing." So he comes in with his boss. His boss's name is Chad, and
Oh,
his boss
nice.
is in this just custom suit, right? Like
Huh.
it wouldn't have a label on it. It was like made for him, you know?
Mm.
Looks like $1 million. I remember we go into the office, I do my presentation on strategy, on what we're driving for the results. They're excited. And then as they leave, Chad, this boss says, "Hey, can I talk to you privately?" And so we step aside and he says, "I am thinking about cutting out my business partners and doing this on my own. And I want to know, can you get the same results for me?"
Whoa.
And I made a terrible mistake at this moment as a young marketer. But this was 10 years, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, "Absolutely, I guarantee it. I can get you the exact same results," right? So I guaranteed success. I guaranteed results. So anyway, fast forward 3 months, and I'm in the office again. Chad is there, and he's just yelling at me. And my boss is there, and my boss's boss, the CEO and founder of Disruptive, is
Oh,
there.
no.
And he is just laying into me because I didn't get the results.
Mm.
I can't tell you why, Austin, at this point, it's like I duplicated the playbook. I was using the same types of keywords and ad copy. I was using it as similar landing page and calls to action. I had all of it felt like it was pretty dialed in. And I don't know why it wasn't working the same way. It's just one of those things. And I was super frustrated and sad. And I
Yeah.
remember he's yelling at me, what do you have to say for yourself? And I remember I just said, "Look," I said, "Chad, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have promised you results. I did say that I would get them and I didn't. I'm sorry. I have to own that. Here's what I think we can do. Here's what I would do next. I can't guarantee an outcome like I did
Mm.
before, but this is what I think will happen." Anyway, he says, "I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm taking my business with me. I'm out of here." And as he stood up, he was like, and Jake, to the CEO and founder of our company, he's like, "Those other opportunities we're talking about, forget them. I'm done with you guys. And so he walks out. My boss goes with him, and I'm left with just Jake, the founder and CEO. And I'm just feeling as low as you can feel in
I
this moment.
imagine.
As a marketer, as a man, as a provider for my family, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
and I'm about to get fired. This is crazy. And I remember just feeling awful. And I looked up at Jake, and Jake had this funny look on his face. And he looked at me and he was like, "Chad," he goes, "I love that you didn't make excuses." He says, "I could work with somebody like you forever." And then he got
Wow.
up, and then he got up and walked out. And that was it.
Wow.
And I learned a couple of things in that experience. One was, don't promise results.
Yeah. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, a rookie mistake. Don't guarantee results, no matter how confident you're feeling, no matter cocky you are. It's better to set a lower expectation and then exceed it,
Mhm.
right? Like
Nice.
that's the play. And then the second thing I learned, and I hadn't consciously thought about it, I was grateful how I showed up that day, but like, don't make excuses either. Own it. Own what you can own.
Mhm.
Don't look for somebody to blame. Don't be afraid to say like, "Yeah, I made that mistake. I own it. I have to live with that." I think that those two things were just huge for me. I think
Mm.
early in my career. Now, there was another story I wanted to share. I'm trying to remember another mistake or a valley.
Yeah, I was
There's
gonna say, first of all, you're a great storyteller. I was fully engaged in that. I'm sure that serves you well, in not only one, like leading a team, but obviously two in marketing. So I'm curious as you're thinking of a second instance or a second
Yeah,
story. What you just explained to me, I'm sure would translate to how your leadership style shows up
sure.
today.
Yeah,
Are there certain principles or,
yeah.
guiding values that lead your team, and where do those come from? And yeah, fill me in on what those are. How do you lead your
Yeah,
team?
no, absolutely. So, one, it's been beautiful to be able to pay that kind of experience forward as a leader. I've managed probably north of 100 people at this point in my career.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing a handful of times where I've had a team member really blow it, completely just blow it and do a
Mm,
really big job and make a big mistake, but to see them own it in the critical moment.
mm.
And then to look at them and say, I love that you didn't make excuses. I could work with somebody like you forever and
Full
walk
circle.
it full circle. It's amazing to pay that forward. And I think that that is a key to my leadership and my team building as well. I want to work with people who can own it, who
Mm,
show up with ownership, who don't point the finger, who don't hide their mistakes, who don't, they're not bullshitters,
mhm.
and I think that that actually reminds me of the other story I want to tell, which is
Nice.
this other moment where I was at Disruptive again. It was a few years now in advance, and I was a team lead. And I remember that I was as a team lead, you kind of shout out to team leads out there. You just deal with everybody's problems. You're just all you are is a problem solver all day, and you're kind of like a firefighter. I feel like
Yeah.
you were typically a team lead person is somebody who was an amazing individual contributor and kind of figured it out how to do it
Mhm.
on their own. And then you move into a team lead position. You're trying to help everybody else figure out while you're learning how to like teach them how to do it. And in the meantime, they're making mistakes that you would never make, but you're having to clean up after them and talk to
Mhm.
clients and do all the whole thing. So anyway, I remember I was in a situation where a client was furious, super mad about the results. I don't even remember the specifics of like why they were upset, but they were mad. And I was in the backyard of my in-laws house. We were about to have dinner and I was out there talking to the client on the phone while pacing in the yard. And I remember that client was super mad and I was just in my zone though, in my element, Austin, like
Mhm.
dealing with an angry client. I was saying all the right things.
Mm.
I was falling
Mhm.
back into this muscle memory of, back when I was in my customer service days, like I just know how to handle
Yeah.
it. I know how to deal with it. It doesn't feel personal, but I'm just like, I'm in my zone and I'm going through the saves process. Right. And we get to this point where I feel like I can tell that it's shifted. I'm about to save this client is what it feels like, like
Mm.
I'm like, they're like frustrated, but I'm about to save them. And he says to me, he goes, Chad, you make a lot of sense. I can see that you want to make this work. And I'm interested in making it work on one condition. And I was like, what is it? And he goes, I just have one question for you. And I go, well, what is it? And he goes, what's my website? And I
Uh,
went, wait, what? And he goes, what's my website URL?
my.
And Austin, I had no idea.
You didn't know it?
I didn't know.
No.
I was just doing the saves thing.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just like, I had an angry client. I was just trying to answer the questions, and do the
Huh.
thing. And I went, and to my own credit, I didn't try to BS it or,
Yeah. Mhm.
I just said, I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know. And he said, that's the reason I don't want to stay and I can't work with you.
Uh,
And that was it. And he left and we didn't save that client. We lost him. But
dang.
like, again, talk about like a paradigm shifting moment for me.
Yeah.
Recognizing that as a marketer, you are so critical to the businesses that you serve. As a marketer, being able to look beyond the numbers and beyond the tactics and beyond the muscle memory and recognize that these are real individuals with real goals, real purpose they're chasing in their lives, with real outcomes that are important to them. Entrepreneurs, especially small business owners, I mean, I
Mhm.
can't even tell you how gut wrenching it is, but there's times where I worked with clients that were so small or whatever that the budget they were giving me was like their house payment, where they're like, we've got
Mm.
this work and Chad, we're trusting you to do this. And so it's like, it's just a reminder to me that, sometimes we get caught up in like the activity of marketing or the science of the game. And we lose the fact that like business is just relationships. Marketing and doing the things that we're doing, we're just trying to create connections and and drive value for people. And these individuals like deserve our authentic, genuine care,
Mm.
not like a fake, just
Mhm.
what we need to say to get through it. And so
Mhm.
anyway, that one is one of the experiences that I will wake up in the middle of the night still and find myself feeling like I was on that phone call and just like,
Yeah.
I can't, whoa, I can't
No.
that happen to me.
What is the website?
Yeah.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That is, dude, it's so good because, to understand that marketing is basically psychology in action, like behind all the metrics, behind all the SERPs and all the tools and all the cool AI, it's still people on both sides of the equation. You're just trying to connect them in the best way. So to
Mhm.
have that, yeah, to have that understanding of how people work, like with the new AI overviews and visibility in LLMs, we're seeing longer queries instead of just like keyword searches, and understanding how to create content around that so it gets connected to the right people in the right time. I'm curious how at Disruptive Advertising, how you guys are thinking about AI visibility showing up in those LLMs. Like, is there a content shift, or yeah, how are you thinking about getting connected to the right people via AI?
Yeah, I love that question. There's a couple of things. One I will say is that at its heart, the game hasn't truly changed. People feel like, well, AI, everything's all different now. It's all different.
Mm,
Everything is, the SERP looks different now. And yes, it does. But like at the heart of everything, it's still about creating quality content that
mhm,
people actually want to use and read and enjoy, and that people actually want to link to and share and do all of those things. So it can be easy to feel like, oh, we have to reinvent the whole game. Nothing that we were doing for SEO is the same anymore. I don't
mhm,
actually buy into that. I think that it's still about quality content, and it's about popularity of that content.
hmm. Yeah,
It feels like those two things have been the same since 2007, which is
yeah,
that is your content good and is it shareable? Like, is it good enough that people want to link to it and share it? Now, all of that being said, there is a temptation, and I have fallen into this, especially with the early adoption of AI for me and my team. There's a temptation to just be like, sweet, I can just use a couple of prompts and pull a social post, a blog post, an article, a web page, and just quickly like you can fall into the trap of just not thinking about it anymore,
mhm,
you know, and thinking that whatever is coming up is quality that you're creating.
mhm,
And it's not been my experience that it is. So the way that I would actually move forward with AI and the way that I'm feeling excited about it is I think that one of the challenges of AI is when you give it no specificity or
mhm,
direction or training. And I'm not talking about a prompt end. I think the prompt end is important. I'm talking about the back end, like the brain
mhm,
of the AI. If you're not giving it some frame of reference and context, you're actually just saying, go look AI anywhere and everywhere and create a blog post for me about this topic, which is
mhm.
just fraught with issues. There's just challenges there. You're going to get a if you're basically asking it to pull from all the knowledge that's on the internet, it's going to be very diluted, general, weird,
Yeah,
maybe incorrect. Where if you can take the time to get really disciplined and clear in the back end,
mhm,
say, hey, this is our brand. Let's teach you about it. Like, this is how we see ourselves in the world. This is how we position ourselves with competitors. This is our deeper why that we
mhm,
use this way. Here are our unique differentiators, our brand pillars. Here are our core values as a company. And these
mhm,
are examples of them. You start to like train the AI on your brand. And then
mhm.
you say, okay, now here is our approach to social media. This is our strategy. This is how we think about it. These are the types of things that we do. Here's our ICP. These are our ideal
Mhm,
clients. Here are the pain points that they have. These are the ways they talk about their pain points. Here
mm.
are our main competitors and the people we care about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and us in reference to them. You put all of that in an organized way in the back of an AI. And then when you go on the front end and say, hey, help me write a post about this topic, referencing all of
Yes.
those, things that you've given it, now you're starting to cook. Now you're starting to really create something that isn't slop, but it's strategic.
Yeah.
It isn't noise. It's like effective, piercing, authentic content. And it's funny, like, our tone, I'll throw this just in as a thought as well. The brand tone is something that's very important to us. And we've determined that it is Jake, our CEO. It's his tone, his disruptive challenger tone. And so we call
Nice.
it, Jake GPT kind of,
Nice.
have it, we run all of our content, whether I wrote it or whether AI wrote part of it and I wrote another part, whatever is written, we put it through Jake GPT
Hmm.
to pitch it up and to make sure it's in the founder's voice And it's been really cool to see that, because a challenge that we run into is that when you have a marketer in a silo who's doing all the content, the brand starts to sound and like look like them. That's just how it kind
Yeah.
of, there's a natural inertia that just goes that way. Like me as a person, I'm really playful. Like I'm also like flexible and casual. So I get really like meme heavy and like
Yeah.
left to my own devices. Disruptive starts to feel kind of like memey and funny
Uh,
and playful. It
Dungeons and Dragons.
starts to get very like wizardy and everything
Yeah.
else. It's like when it's Jake, it's aspirational, it's challenging, it's a
Sure.
galvanizing energy. Morpheus, think Morpheus in the Matrix, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
wake up from whatever. And I think that's awesome. And as a marketing leader, it's my job to translate that brand voice, not to let it just become my thing. So I really like AI for helping with that. But
Yeah.
again, you have to think of it as the tool is only as good as, and this is just occurring to me off the top of my head, but
Hmm.
for years we've said you've got to sharpen the axe, which is like you as a marketer need to be reading, learning, subscribing to newsletters, seeing what's current, trying new things, testing. All of that still remains true. But now, like one of your axes is an AI, you've got to sharpen the AI too. Like you've got to sharpen
Yeah.
that. So you've got to spend the time feeding it information and thinking of training it almost like a coworker if you want to
Hmm.
get great results out of it. And then even then, you've got to go back and continue to refine and make sure that it's good. You can't just assume.
Yeah. You're like, I want to go to my AI and say, I love your transparency. I love that you own that. You didn't make excuses. I could work with you forever.
Yeah. And it's funny too, at least in the models that I have been playing with, I think one of the challenges is that it doesn't challenge. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yep.
hold stand for something. It immediately tries to just please you, right? And you've probably seen that where it just folds. You say like, I don't know if I agree with that. It's like, oh, you're so right. I think that,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I want to develop a relationship with that tool that it can challenge me. I can challenge it. We can challenge each other. And that's kind of,
Hmm.
because that's what you want from a great a coworker or employee as well.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you're using this internally, and you have a team and you're encouraging them to develop their own GPTs. I'm sure you're encouraging them to experiment. And it sounds like the culture at Disruptive is one where mistakes aren't punished, but mistakes are almost celebrated because we're furthering our knowledge. And it's a safe place internally where you can express and share, what you learned from their mistakes. And I think that's a really important culture to have, especially now moving forward where things are moving so fast. And, it costs the search engines money every time that they crawl a site and they're looking for content. And if that content is duplicated, like it was essentially a waste of a crawl. It was
Yeah.
essentially a waste of money. So they're
Mhm.
looking for that unique content. And that's a great perspective. One of the best ways to do that is to have your own internal documents uploaded, trained on the chat GPT to help you. Yeah.
100%. Then it's referencing unique content that you've created instead of referencing just whatever it wants to.
Hmm. So as a VP of marketing, what are things that you're bullish on in the next 18 months as far as like either channels or content strategy or, different modes like voice mode or, short form. I mean, what are you thinking about or what trends are you seeing that you're going in on?
Yeah, I think, but like short form video feels
Yeah.
so relevant and maybe more relevant than it ever has been before. It
Mhm.
feels so strange now to create anything that's static.
Mhm.
Like static images, static just text posts, anything that feels static feels a little bit like outdated and old fashioned to me. And so the thing I'm feeling really bullish on for me and my team and for my brand is very much showing up every day with new video on all the channels. And by all the channels, I'm being generous. I mean, maybe like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and LinkedIn, right? Like those
Mhm.
are, and that makes sense for our ICP, right? For our ideal customer. So showing up in all those channels, being consistent and not just creating content and throwing it out there, but paying to promote it as well. I
Hmm.
think this is a place that I've been guilty as a marketer and I'm trying to change on that moving forward, which is that it's easy to just throw things up, create things and throw them up in the upper funnel and be like, well, I hope they just get picked up organically. I hope we go viral. I hope we, like we'll try, to say something shocking enough or do it in an interesting way enough that we'll get something viral. It's like, think of the money that you spent to create that piece of content, the hours that went into it from every team member, and you should probably be spending about that much, whatever it costs to create that one piece. You should probably be spending
Mhm.
that much to promote it at least.
Mm.
And then when you get those pieces out in the wild, making sure that every one of them is getting a fair shake. How are you hitting an impression target with all of your short form to ensure that you can then compare them apples to apples and see what actually is biting, and then
Mhm.
go in deeper with budget on those pieces that are working. That feels like so important. And again, it might feel like we're just late to the party, but that's a piece that we're really trying to dive into right now with this brand. And I'm excited to see what the next year holds as we continue to unravel that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting concept because how you know if something's working, it takes a lot of data points,
Yeah,
and how do you get more data points quicker? Like you can pay for them.
true.
And yeah, I think in this world, like speed is one of the most, it's the strongest currency, speed and data. So putting some budget behind something in order to get that data will help you shape your more organic content if you wanted to do that. Another I had heard from a mentor of mine, he kind of had the same idea. He's like, okay, we're going to put budget behind something, but the CTA is going to be a small purchase. And
Mm,
so if what other validation do you need than the exchange of money from your ideal customers? He would run two pieces of content and pay for both of them, and whichever one actually had the higher transactions, that's what they would then go create their content around. And I was like,
yeah,
oh man,
that.
that is really smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. That's definitely the way to do it. It's that element of like, okay, let's see what the data actually says. And going back to like dealing with angry customers or the angry client, that's always the thing that felt good to fall back on. Is like,
Yeah.
hey, I know you have an opinion, a strong opinion. I can tell that this is important to you, client, and let's see what the data says. Let the data say,
Yeah.
you know, you might be right, but you'd be surprised how often the piece that you think is going to kill doesn't kill, and the piece that you
Yeah.
thought was really lame does great. And so, like,
Yeah.
lose your preconceived notions about what's going to happen with the marketing, let the data speak, and then the data will direct us, right? And if we're not reacting to the data and moving things forward with it, then it feels like a waste. It feels like we're
Yeah.
not necessarily doing what we should be.
Yeah. Man, this is such a good content, and I've had a great conversation with you so far, and I want to actually ask you more questions. I'm conscious of time, but
Cool.
speaking of data here, we hear a lot about the zero click environment and like how metrics are changing, and like how do we explain that to our clients where, just because you're not getting the impressions that you used to have and, fewer clicks, how do you still convey that marketing in general is important,
Mhm.
PPC aside, but let's say like SEO. How are you like, I know you're not maybe specifically customer facing, but how are you coaching your team to
Yeah.
talk to clients about the importance of continuing with their program?
Yeah. Well, and part of it is that it's easy to overvalue marketing metrics,
Mhm.
undervalue business outcomes.
Mm.
And I've fallen into that trap a ton of times where like I strut into the meeting and like I delivered all these MQLs
Uh-huh.
this month. Like, you're welcome. Like, look at
Yeah.
how great I'm doing. But like we missed the revenue target.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I think needs to happen more so than the conversation, which feels like smoke, there's the smoke
Mhm.
conversation of why am I spending on this upper funnel stuff that I can't see a direct ROI on? Like
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
the smoke. The actual fire is, do I as a business owner feel like my team, my marketing team and strategy are driving the business outcome I care the most about, which is the revenue, which is whatever, the net margin,
Yeah.
those things. And so spending a lot of time early, hopefully early, or if you're not there already, spending time getting realigned with the business owner or the decider, the point of contact that is the decision maker, getting clear with them and saying, look, what outcomes matter most to you? Where are those outcomes at right now? Can we create a strategy that demonstrates to you that we're actually connected to and driving results for the outcome? Now, some of those channels are going to be harder to track, but the thing that I think is very interesting, and if you can lay it out in front of a client, is a customer journey that just shows the metrics at every stage of the funnel.
Mm.
You can start to create more of a connective tissue for them from the very bottom of the funnel where the money is coming into their pocket to the very top where it's just an impression.
Mhm.
So instead of reporting on a channel in isolation, start reporting on your channels together. So that that
Mm.
would that would be, as an account manager, what I would do. I'd say, look, hey, client, we had this last month, this many impressions in our upper funnel. And that led to this many visitors, website sessions.
Mm,
And that led to this many lead forms. And that led to this many MQLs. And that led to this many SQLs. And that led to this many deals that closed.
nice.
Right. And that created this much revenue. And all of a sudden to them, now when you're reporting on impressions, they're not saying, how crap does that even matter? Like, what does that even do for me? They're seeing how it all stacks like a layered cake, right? That goes
Mm,
down to their wallet. And they don't get upset as much when you're trying to do things in the upper funnel because you say, this is where we're creating traffic and trust and acceleration and momentum through to the bottom of the funnel. It's all connected. So like
mhm,
you're showing them that it's connected in your reporting every single month. So anyway,
mm.
those are like the top of mind things that I would be thinking about when it comes to demonstrating value from channels that maybe don't feel as connected. It's like put them in relationship in the reporting, my man. And
Yeah.
that's how you start to train your client to see the connection like you do.
Yeah, super smart to report as a whole,
Sure.
right? Show the whole picture. And as we've experienced here on the podcast, tell a story, help them understand, right? We learn in images and mental images.
Yeah.
Awesome. So where can we find you online? Where can we find more about disruptive advertising? How do we do
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. So disruptiveadvertising.com is our website. You can find us on all the social channels as well, Disruptive Ads. If you're looking for me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Chad Delisle. I also have a D&D podcast that I run with my friends called Heroic Ground. If you want to check us
Nice.
out, look up Heroic Ground podcast and we do that and love it. And it's just nerdy and it's fun and it's a side project that I'm passionate about.
Very cool. And that's where your storytelling abilities come from, right?
That's
Dungeons and Dragons.
that's right. I'm the dungeon master, so I'm going to tell a lot of stories. That's what I do.
Love it. Love it, man. Well, Chad Delisle, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Austin.